Call the Honourable Amy Adams.
Mr Speaker, it's a great pleasure to be back in the House for 2015 and it's certainly a pleasure to welcome you back to your role in the chair, a role that you've taken to with some gusto and performing very well, sir. Look, I'm delighted to be back and looking ahead to another year of the whole national-led government delivering genuinely better outcomes from New Zealanders. And you heard it from the Prime Minister today. We were elected with the strongest mandate this country has seen under MMP system of government, and every single one of us is committed to using our time here to make New Zealand a better place for its inhabitants. We're not here to think about how we can preserve our own political careers, how we can further our agendas, how we can last the longest in this place. Most of us have come from successful careers in the wider world, and we've come here because we're passionate about this country. We're passionate about making a difference, and we believe that under John Key's leadership, with the team we have a team of people who absolutely can do that, sir. That's what gets us up every morning. That's what we're committed to this year and throughout this term. Mr Speaker, this year you're going to see an incredibly busy program of action from the national-led government, and you've heard the Prime Minister talk about it this afternoon. My colleague, the Honourable Dr Nick Smith, will be right at the forefront of that with some of the most important reforms that I think are facing New Zealand, particularly reform of the RMA, which anyone who looks at it sensibly knows is fundamental to getting the outcomes this country needs, both economically and environmentally. Sir, it's not serving anybody well, and I wish my colleague the very best with advancing those reforms that he's worked very hard on. Similarly, in the freshwater space, where excellent progress is being made, in the housing space, and the creation of more jobs, the creation of better health care for all of our community, and particularly for those under 13. Mr Speaker, we will be working to provide better outcomes for all New Zealanders. And as well as doing that, sir, we understand that it's our job to play our part in the international community, because the security of our people is fundamentally any government's first concern. And in the world that we inhabit, we all understand that security is no longer just a domestic issue. Security, sir, means taking our part in the international community, taking it with great caution and care, but knowing that it isn't enough to sit at home and say, gosh, isn't that terrible what's happening to those people, that sometimes, sir, action is required. It is a very difficult decision and one that's taken with extreme care, but we know that playing our part in the international arena is a core part of what keeps our country safe. Mr Speaker, I want to take the rest of my time this afternoon talking about some of the areas that I'm going to be focusing on in my portfolio, and I want to start with the issue of connectivity, because, Mr Speaker, I'm passionate about the fact that New Zealanders' connectivity to each other and to the world is an absolute foundation stone of our success. And I can tell you, Mr Speaker, that over the time we've been in government, we have seen a step change in New Zealanders' ability to connect with each other and connect to the world. Just recently, Mr Speaker, Statistics New Zealand have announced that we've now seen a 34% increase in the number of Kiwi homes connected to the internet since 2006. We've seen significant increases in average speeds, and we're moving up the OECD rankings. Last year, Akamai noted that New Zealand's speeds had increased over that year by 37%, placing us now well ahead of Australia, which is always comforting. And TrueNet also for the same period noted that our average speeds are up 34%. So whatever measure you want to choose, one thing is being noticed internationally, and that is New Zealand is making incredible steps forward in both its connectivity and the speeds available to New Zealanders. Mr Speaker, we're now second in the OECD for the growth of fibre subscriptions. So in 1 year, we've seen 144% growth in fibre subscriptions. Now, this hasn't happened by accident, Mr Speaker. It's not just the inevitable march of technology. It's happened because this government has committed now $2 billion to the rollout of better broadband for our cities, our towns and our rural communities. We do it, Mr Speaker, because exactly that. We know that connectivity means that every town, the smallest village, the smallest rural community can then trade with the world and build their own future. That's what this government believes in, providing the tools for regional, provincial and rural New Zealand to access the world from wherever they are. That's why we've committed $2 billion, and that's why, sir, you're seeing from us a big move now to go beyond our first targets of 75% of New Zealanders connected with fibre to the home, to now 80% of New Zealanders is the goal we'll be working on this term. We're spending $100 million more than we've already committed to rural broadband infrastructure, and another $50 million to ensure cell phone black spots are filled. Mr. Speaker, this is why New Zealand is increasingly seen at the forefront of connectivity. This will be our agenda to continue that rapid pace. Let me talk now broadly about what's happening in the justice space. And again, we have a story that I think every one of us on this side of the House is rightly very proud of. We're seeing crime at the lowest level for 35 years. And I want to acknowledge the ministers who've worked before me, yourself included, Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Judith Collins, the Honourable Simon Power, all of those ministers and who've worked over the last 6 years in this space, because the record that we now stand on is a very strong one. But, Mr. Speaker, as ever, there's more we can do, and we're not going to sit back and say, isn't that great, we can now sort of put that one in the done box. There is more work we have to do. This government set itself a very bold goal of better public service targets across all of the areas of service that matter to New Zealanders. And we are delivering, but they're hard. We deliberately made them hard targets because we wanted to stretch the public service and ourselves. In the justice space, all of our 4 targets around total crime, youth crime, reoffending and violent offending are on track to meet those targets. But if there's one area, sir, where I think we have to make better progress, it's under that broad umbrella of violent offending. Now, sir, the thing that makes me sit up and really look at these figures the most is that half of our violent offending is related to family violence. We have one of the highest rates of family violence in the OECD, and that's not something that I'm prepared to accept, and I'm sure every member in the House would agree with me, that as a country we cannot continue to accept this level of family violence. So 50% of our homicides are family violence related. That means on average we lose 14 women, 7 men and 8 children every year to family violence. Every 6 minutes there is a notification to the police for family violence. This is not something that New Zealand should put in the too hard basket. It is not something we should simply accept. We have to, all of us, take steps to change this. I would love it if there was a simple initiative, well, it wouldn't be simple, but an initiative the government could run that would simply fix it. And I'm certainly open to all suggestions from around the House and around society as to what the government can do. But, sir, it is not just an issue for government. It is an issue for every neighbour, every friend, every relative, every colleague, when they see someone and help, to think about how they can reach out. So some of the things that we're going to be doing in this space are certainly building on what's been done before. We've seen the rollout of the Victims Offender Levy, which I remember our opponents across the House saying, that'll never work, scoff, you'll never get it paid. So $16.5 million raised already, 75% collection rate, which is far and above anything that we had predicted, and certainly yards ahead of what the doomsayers on the other side said would happen. And those funds are now providing better services for victims so that they can play their part in the justice system. We're going to go further than that. We have to look at more intensive case management for those most at risk. We're going to be appointing a Chief Victims Advisor, rolling out the Safer at Home program nationwide. We're just kicking off, sir, a comprehensive review of the Domestic Violence Act and how protection orders work in this country, because there is room to do that better. And we have to look more closely at how the court system provides for the victims of domestic and sexual violence. In my view, sir, there isn't a system that will make appearing in court, telling your story, having that evidence tested simple or easy, but absolutely we can do better, and I think we must do better. We cannot have a country where we have senior members of our society telling women don't come forward because the process is too horrific. We will never get on top of the problem if we're telling victims not to come forward. We have to encourage them to come forward, and we have to build a system that supports them in doing that. So that is going to be at the forefront of my time in the justice sector. I believe we can do more, and I've said before in this House, and I'll say again, my door is open to anyone in this House who wants to work constructively with me on that. So that's just one of the issues, of course, underway in the justice sector. We'll be doing a lot of work this year around continuing the good work to ensure our courts work faster, more efficiently, cases are progressed quickly. So we'll be looking at the ongoing review of our privacy legislation to ensure the right information is being supplied to the right people at the right time. And as I've been talking about just recently, sir, we're going to have to take steps to address the issue of deported criminals coming back where we don't have a good record of that so we can monitor them. Sir, we have a busy program of work. It is a government I remain incredibly proud to be a part of, and I want to wish all members a successful 2015.
Very good speech.
I note this call is taken by the Green Party and will be a split call, 5 minutes each, and I call